Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have our next guest joining us here today, Tracy Makarenko. We're excited to have her to talk more about, well, spiritual awakening through her healing opportunities and so much more. First and foremost, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jill. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much. Where do you live?
So I live in a town called Nanaimo. It's in on Vancouver Island in Canada. So yeah, it is a bit of paradise here for sure. I've been
Okay.
here 4 years.
Oh my, see, that's one place I've never visited, Vancouver. And then my favorite spot, because my friend has a mother who lives there, is the island itself. I've seen beautiful pictures of where you're from. My goodness, beautiful to have that around you. And as a holistic life coach and spiritual teacher, you must get a lot of guidance out there from nature itself, right?
Oh, just being able to walk in this old forest, it's just, yeah, it's pretty magical and grounding. I'm a Virgo, so I'm an earth sign.
Okay.
So being around, the forest and then having the water so close as well is just like extra bonuses. And we have mountains here. People go skiing. And then
Wow.
on the other side of the island, people go surfing.
Oh
So
my
we have like
goodness.
everything going on this island.
Why would you ever want to leave? People say that about New York, but nah. I mean, I live on Long Island, so it's good to visit New York City, but nah. I guess everyone has their moments. But right now, do you have a lot of snow? Is it really cold?
Oh my God, yeah, the last 2 days we've had a huge dump of snow. We usually get maybe 2, 3 days of snow a year, and we've had snow for about the last three. So, but it's supposed to start raining later today, so we'll get rid of it. But we really, really did need the moisture. It's been so dry here for the last year.
Well,
Yeah, how about you
excited.
guys?
We're just cold. We have a little flurries today, no real accumulation. New York hasn't had snow in a while, at least where we are on Long Island. So my kids are disappointed. They're young. They're 6 and 8. So, but I want to get into that. I want to find out more about you. Obviously, I know you're married for 32 years. Have you said two daughter and son-in-laws and a grandcat?
Yeah, yeah, my grandcat's the only grand thing I have right now.
I love it. I have cats myself. So can I ask you a little about what you do? I know you're an intuitive healer, holistic life coach, but there's so much to you. You're an author. So let me have you introduce yourself to everyone to start.
Yeah, sure. I'd actually like to talk today about everything I do. So if we can kind of maybe break it down a little bit,
Sure.
just get into it a little bit, into the juicier bits and pieces of it. I started this work in 2004, 2005 when I opened my business. I'd been walking in kind of the holistic field for about 4 years, doing some self-healing at that point, and I was really drawn to like do the work and help other people go through the amazing process of healing that I had experienced, which I'd like to get into today too, because it's just there's so many different layers to it. Um, I usually I usually get calls or emails or people reach out for various reasons. One of the main reasons I think is they're just looking for a physical healing. They need to take care of what's ailing them, whether it's a headache, some type of chronic pain. Maybe they've been in a car accident, or when I lived in Alberta, there was a lot of people who were thrown off horses, so there was whiplash involved. People will come in for digestive issues, um, having problems just breathing, their lungs, concussions. I always have to say this, but I really do love working with people who have concussions. It's just a magical experience when you can rebalance their brain. But I'll get into that later. So a lot of like issues with the organs or the physical body is usually why I get phone calls. And they're looking for cranial, sacral, or visceral manipulation work. I don't know if you're familiar with either of those, Jill.
I've heard of them, but I'm not really sure. And if you could just give us a little rundown of each for our listeners, I think it'll be important.
Sure, sure. So, I mean, I love doing the work. Cranial, sacral, and visceral manipulation is really about compressing and decompressing um, muscles, their circulation, bones, organs, until you get them into almost like this stacked position where if you've had a massage and someone stuck their elbow in a knot, all of a sudden the knot lets go. Well, this happens with my hands around whatever's going on, and it just kind of unwinds. And as it unwinds, it lets go of fascia that can go from one end of the body to the other end, and they feel this really amazing release. And it's about bringing the body back into a realignment so that it feels good. So typically that's the bottom end. People just come in for that, and then they're kind of amazed, like, oh my God, how did you manage to do that? Like, what are you doing exactly? Um, and everything I do, I don't want to say my end goal is, because I like to meet all my clients exactly where they're at, but I want them to wake up to more of what's going on in their body, so they feel things before they get to that place where there's no return or less return. I love being able to help people come back from maybe not being able to walk or not being able to get through the day because
Wow.
of their headaches. But I really, I really just want them to feel better on whatever level it is. So that's part of the cranial sacrovisceral stuff that people come in and get healing for.
Beautiful. And by the way, how can we reach you? Could you share the
Oh,
website with
yeah.
everyone and your
Yeah.
social media pages before we continue?
Sure, I always forget about that part. Yeah, so I mean, it's just Tracy Makarenko, TracyMakarenko.com for my website. And then all my social media is exactly the same, at Tracy Makarenko. Email me at Tracy Makarenko. So it's easy to find me if you just throw me in Google or whatever your browser is.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right, let's continue. There's so much to you. Yeah. Do you want to still, let's talk about your modalities and all that you're
Yeah,
doing, let alone, we got to talk about your books. We have to talk about your
I
classes,
know.
your monthly, oh my God, workshops, everything. So I'll let you have the reins here, but I'm here for you and I'm excited. And just to let you know, guys and gals, it's Tracy Makarenko here. So go Google her name. You can find her everywhere. And we're going to have a great conversation today. And hopefully, the next few weeks as well to learn more about the work that she's doing to help.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so yeah, people will call me or get a hold of me to do this, physical healing. They're looking for a physical healing. Um, and then, things change. I'm not always just doing the cranial sacral, the visceral work. I have, like you said, a lot of modalities. I have 15 different things that I have under my belt. I'm not using them all the time. I definitely have my favorites. But then there's this next group of people who are, a bit more awake. They've probably been doing work on themselves for a while. They're looking for more of a spiritual experience. So they get a hold of me and they ask for me to do the Reiki. Because if you go to my website, you'll see I do a lot of different things and people just don't really know what to ask for. And I think that's kind of a bit of a hurdle for them. So I call a lot of my healing, intuitive healing, and I do it hands-on or I do it virtually. And so people at this level, when they're asking for Reiki, they recognize that this is
Wow.
also a virtual experience. I could be working on you right now, Jill, if you had something going on. I had a radio show in 2012, 2013, and I did a lot of um, shows where I was actually working on the people who called in, and I was working on like their ears because they were having problems with hearing, and I was working on different organs, and so all this work can be done anywhere, which is the really amazing thing with doing this work. You can help people who want to work with you wherever they are, so it's super cool. So you're probably familiar with Reiki, I would think.
Yeah, that's an energy healing modality, which I learned. I've done it before. And you worked with all your chakras, right? We have seven main, but there's others. But the stuff it helps with is pretty impressive. Could you share?
Oh, absolutely. So at this level, I'm still going to be helping you with whatever else is going on in your body, because when we have a physical ailment, it usually is always connected to an emotional part of us or to a mental block, or it even could be connected to something that's cropped up that happened a long time ago. So maybe I'll just share a couple of examples with you.
Sure.
So when I was 18, I was crossing the street to catch the bus to go to school. And there was a bus stopped on the left side. And so I was crossing the street to go to catch the bus that was going the other direction. Some Yahoo pulled out behind not only a bus, but three other vehicles, came on the incoming traffic, and they hit me and went over the hood the whole bit, fell on the ground. I went to
Ah,
school because I was in shock, but halfway through first period, I ended up at the hospital. I hadn't broke anything. I probably had a minor concussion. Um, a few days I had really, lots of sore bits and pieces to my body, but I pretty much got up. I
yeah.
got up and I went on with my day. Fast forward 12 years from that point, I was pregnant with my second daughter, and my one hip was just killing me. And I just, I was trying to get some massage, but you're pregnant. It was just not always fun getting massage when you're pregnant. Afterwards, I started seeing a chiropractor to adjust things because things were all out of whack. And when you're pregnant, everything kind of gets pulled and moved and adjusted. So, this thing that had slept for a while and was fine in my body was starting to wake up with these
Mm-hmm.
adjustments. And so this typically is what happened. People come in and they get their physical stuff, just like I said, I'll work on them, the physical. But then as things start waking up, it moves to a different level. So when I got hit by that car, I was in kind of a dark place. I was dating this guy. I'd actually just moved out a few days before. So as I was walking to the bus stop, I was cursing him, as
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we do. And so I'm not saying I necessarily attract it, but law of attraction, right? There's this whole other piece to it.
Oh yeah, we have a lot. We'll talk on another personal level, but yes, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So wherever people are coming into this conversation and whatever they can handle, take it as you will. So law of attraction, I get hit by this car. I'm thinking I
Oh,
want to live,
oh,
in the split moment. I land. I am wearing contacts, so I make light of it for years that my contacts never popped out getting hit by this car. So, kudos to my contact company because we do these things, right? We don't want to really look at our stuff.
mm-hmm.
So, when I started healing my hip and my back, it was more on a spiritual level. And that's all I kept thinking about is I have this hip issue, I
Oh,
have this back issue, I need to get this fixed. Then it took me, I knew about the accident, but what I didn't know about as I started healing, and I was in actually a cranial sacral class, I had someone working on me, and this is just crazy. And it's not that a few things hadn't popped up before, but this was a big one for me.
mm-hmm.
I was laying on the massage table, someone was working on me, and I started making all these funny faces. Like I was twisting my face around and scrunching my eyes and just like being silly. And the practitioner was laughing, and then she stopped and she's like, "What is this all about, Tracy?" And I dropped into this place. And this is a place I like to take people when I'm working on them on this next level. That's not just spiritual, I mean, physical, it's more spiritual. And I saw myself as an 8 or 9 year old, and I was looking in the mirror and I was looking at my face and I was doing all
Wow.
this weird stuff. And it brought back this memory where, and I knew I'd gone to a dentist. I knew I was scared of dentists. I didn't remember the experience, but it all started coming up in my body
Ah,
during this moment of healing. And the dentist, and we're talking, it was the 70s, so they still had those great big huge metal needles, and he was terrified of me biting him because I was in such a state. Nobody told me what the dentist was about.
wow.
And we were all getting this done in school. we were in a very small community, so the school brought in a dentist. He gave me 4 needles, both cheeks, upper and lower, so I wouldn't bite them. And I was frozen down to my clavicles. And so this was later on at night. I was home and I was still
Wow.
frozen. And so this healing I was going through, I remembered all of this because these were not conscious memories. And we trap these memories into our body for years. And I also, I guess, when you're scared, think about what you do. You like your hands are closed into fists, your whole body's like tense because you're scared, your legs, everything. People always said I walked around like I had a pole up my bum for years, you know, but it was all a part of this whole thing. When I went through this release on the table, I
Hmm.
could barely stand up because all my tissue just started melting away, this memory and this fear and this anxiety. And I literally could taste in my mouth the freezing that he used for 2 days after this because my cells opened up and
Wow.
all of this started coming out. I was detoxing all the stuff that I'd hung on to since I was 8 or 9 years old. And so this is the next level of healing that I love stepping into and doing for people because there's something nagging there that they know is
Mm.
going on, but they don't realize. I thought it was from this car accident that everything was a mess in my body, but a portion of it was from this experience I had with the dentist when I was eight
Wow.
or 9 years old.
Wow, that is powerful that you were able to uncover that trauma and let it go like that. I, this is a great story. I didn't really know fully your backstory, but thank you for sharing that. And then from there, what happened next?
Well, I mean, you just continue healing, and I mean, there's a lot more stories. But I when people come in for that level, they're coming in for something different. Um,
Hmm.
Maybe they don't realize that's the depth we could go. Some do, but not necessarily everyone. They might be coming in just to learn how to meditate, quiet their brain down. They want to expand their intuition. That's like healing an inner child wound, is what was going on with me. And when people say, they're healing their inner child, I don't think they always realize exactly what that means, but that was like one of the wounds I dealt with. Um, People also come in, they're very excited about, is there something that's connecting me to a past life? I had a lady who came in, she was about 52, and she's like, all of a sudden, I'm terrified, just terrified of small spaces. I've never been
Hmm.
claustrophobic in my life. And so we ended up doing a past life regression, and at the age she was, 52, um, there had been a past life where at 52, she was buried, but she was buried alive. People had thought she was dead and she wasn't. So everything that came up in that moment, while she was underground and trying to get out of being,
Oh,
buried, came up for her. And she ended up dying. She wasn't able to get out of the ground. So there was that trauma that was still connected to her from a past life. So we don't know what the story is all the time.
yeah.
We've put it in our body where we can continue on with our daily life and feel safe. Um, but that's my job, is holding the space so you can feel safe in this moment to go where you need to go and release these stories that have been sitting there for a long time, and helping you heal to a level where all of a sudden this stuff releases from your cellular memory and your cellular body on a
Hmm.
level where you get to experience freedom. There's a level of freedom when this
Yeah.
happens.
Wow. Well, you just have to remind everyone, Tracy, how we can contact you. We still have 5 more minutes left in the show, but it's always good to remind everyone because we're on a roll today. We're skipping your commercial break. So tell us the website.
Sure. It's Tracy Makarenko.com. So TracyMakarenko.com. Email Tracy at tracymakarenko.com. Of course, you can find that on my website too. There's contact me on there. All my information's on there, what I do, bit of my
Breath
history.
work as a Reiki master and
Yeah.
spiritual response technique, angel certification. I mean, the craniosacral therapy. There's so much to you. How many shows do we have, by the way, together? I hope
We
it's
have
more than
10
this.
more after this. So
Oh
I'm
my,
going to keep
oh,
breaking them down for this whole spiritual
perfect.
thing.
Beautiful. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I'm
So
glad we're doing that. Good. Continue.
yeah. Because I figured this today, we can just kind of get into the juicy parts of what I really do offer instead of just all the stories. But I also am a holistic life coach. So if people don't want the healing, they just want to work on their life.
Hmm.
It's a great way to level up, raise that frequency, that vibration, really decide what your goals are. If you need help, if you don't, and you just need, a little bit of support, that's great. I'm here for that as well. Um, people's lives change doing this work, and the coaching, I love it because so many women are running their own businesses now, and
Yep.
they don't necessarily have a support network. I remember when I started, thank God I had a business diploma, so I kind of had an idea of what I was doing when I started this work, because I
Hmm.
was an accountant before that. But I'm really there to help support you, make your business more successful and your life, because it's not just about one area of your life, it's about balancing all of it. That's why we call it a holistic approach. Everything kind of has to balance out. So there's the life coaching, and then I do this new moon women's circle. I've been doing it for about a year. I do it virtually on Zoom in the mornings, my time in the mornings, afternoon in your time, but starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, goes till noon. Um, and we just get together, and women get to be, part of a tribe. They get to be honest with each other, share the stuff that we don't always get to share because maybe we don't have anyone we can talk to who's into doing this type of stuff. We might feel alone, especially in the
Hmm.
beginning. You might have one or two people you can talk to, but they look at you with this like one eyebrow kind of raised thing,
Yeah.
and they're not quite sure what
Huh?
you're
I can't do it.
saying, you know.
Uh-huh.
So just trying to become more part of a group. We talk about the new moon. It happens around the new moon period of the month, and then I take you on one of my guided visualizations with a kind of a shamanic background. So as a healer, I have taken my shamanic medicine healing.
Hmm.
And so that is the part of me that has always been able to take people to the past life or take them to their inner child wounds or wherever they need to go, and really connect to the visual part of it, or hear what they need to hear, see what they need to see. Um, so
Hmm.
there's a shift and change that happens in those new moon events, and then everyone gets to set an intention at the end, and we're all there to support you. So you're setting the intention you need. Sometimes the intention we think we need is
Yeah.
not necessarily the intention we really need.
Well, we appreciate your time here. Excited to have you and want you to reach out to our friend Tracy Makarenko. And by the way, you can email her, find her on social media. It's spelled TracyMakarenko.com, or the same handle, right, on social
Yeah.
media. And
Yeah.
how did you want to leave off for today?
Oh, yeah. So the book I wrote 10 years ago, Moving from the Outside In, I just have my girlfriend did up a beautiful new cover, and it just was released as a Kindle book on Amazon this week. The soft cover will come next week, but everything about me is in that book. I share my deep, dark truths in that book. Um, so yeah, you can go take a look at that. I'd
Well,
would
thank
love
you.
that.
Pleasure having you here, and we're going to talk more, obviously, thank goodness, the next few weeks. And don't forget, I'm a Brilliant Woman that became a bestseller on Amazon. We'll dive into more details of all your work. And thank you so much for being here and sharing your personal story with us. And it's good to let people know they're not alone and they can change. And guess what? You mentioned the Fate and Destiny Masterclass. And life is too precious, too short not to live your best life. So this is why you need to contact her. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thanks, Jill.
You have a great day. And I'm excited that we're working together and looking forward to continuing our conversation.
Me too, very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.